Hey guys, welcome to Chicken Coop Coasters, episode 2. Last time we talked about SeaWorld San Antonio, ranked all the rides by intensity there. This time, we're doing the same thing, but for Dollywood. It's the best theme park I've ever been to. It's got amazing rides, it's got amazing food, it's got honestly really emotional shows, surprisingly emotional shows. You would be very surprised by how emotional the plays are there. I guess if you don't have an attachment to Dolly Parton, maybe it wouldn't be as emotional for you, but I wasn't super attached to Dolly Parton before this park, and I feel like I got more attached to her after this park experience. But yeah, SeaWorld was the best park for families and for ride progression, I would say, in Texas. And I would say that Dollywood is the best park for ride progression and for families in America. So that's what I'm going to be ranking. I'm going to be ranking the rides by intensity, by a progression path I would recommend for people who are afraid of roller coasters. A few caveats. This is going to be a more objective list than the SeaWorld one, I'd say. That was more subjective to my experience, like, for example, my fear of graying out and stuff. I'm not really going to be going into, like, oh, I'm afraid of inversions, so therefore Wild Eagle is the most intense ride in the park. No, I'm not really afraid of inversions anymore after going on Wild Eagle, for one. And for two, there are objectively more intense rides than Wild Eagle in Dollywood. Spoiler alert. But I will still be going into my experience with every ride, of course, my personal feelings on them, and kind of how my progression path differentiates from this list ever so slightly. That being said, I do need to mention one more caveat, and that is I have not ridden Tennessee Tornado or Mystery Mine, because I came into this park terrified of inversions. It took me a while to build up confidence to even do Wild Eagle, so I cannot include those two rides on this list, but every other roller coaster in the park will be included. That being said, thank you guys so much for your support so far on this series. Episode 1 Chicken Coop Coasters will be linked in the description. If you're checking this video out and live near Texas, maybe check it out as well. Or if you're planning a trip to SeaWorld San Antonio and are afraid of rides, I would, definitely recommend checking that video out, because I think it will be super helpful for you. Thank you to all the people that subscribed, that liked, that commented, and thank you to Canopy Coasters for providing the POVs for both that video and for this video. The copyright-free POVs have been a lifesaver for making these videos in general. So I just really appreciate him, appreciate all of y'all, and let's get into it. Let's get into the top 10 most intense rides at Dollywood, or more accurately, top 10 most intense rides I rode at Dollywood. Coming in at number 10, we have a ride we don't have to talk about for long, Whistlepunk Chaser. It goes in a circle. It's a kiddie ride. It is, again, kind of rough. Similar to SeaWorld San Antonio's kiddie ride. I, subjectively speaking, had a more intense experience on this ride than the ride above it. That being said, this one, super easy. Honestly, if you've ever ridden a kiddie coaster before, you've ridden this one. It's the only difference is it's built in the Smokies, which is a difference for all of these rides and does matter, because oh my gosh, it's such a beautiful setting for every single one of these rides. But this ride just goes in a circle. There's not a lot to look at in comparison to all the other rides in the park. This one's just kind of there are prettier sections, there are prettier rides you could start with. Coming in at number 9, we have Dragonflier. I don't actually love the section of the park that this ride is built in as well, and this ride, in my opinion, is the most baby tame ride I have ever been on. I literally have been on, I think, both the kiddie coasters that I have been on recently at SeaWorld San Antonio and Dollywood are more intense than this ride. Some people incorrectly say this ride has an inversion. Some people say this ride has like intense G's. Maybe I sat in the wrong row. I disagree though. I've even heard people say they gray out on this ride. Do not let that make you afraid, okay? In my opinion, this is an incredibly forceless experience. The most forceful part is definitely the first drop, and then after that, it's like you're just kind of turning a little bit more. You go through a tunnel, And then the ride ends. I'm getting tired and bored talking about it. I think it's a very overrated ride as far as family rides go. I used to say that Barracuda Strike is so much better and like objectively better than this ride. And I think I still do consider it better. That being said, the one advantage this ride has is it is far smoother than Barracuda Strike. So if it depends on what you value. Do you value a more dynamic layout or do you value smoothness? I'd say a more dynamic layout is more important to me. But that being said, this ride is still all right. But yeah, your feet dangle. That's one part that might be a little bit intimidating to people, but I'd still say this is the best ride to start with in the park, even though your feet are dangling, because you have one drop and then a bunch of twists and turns. You're basically just getting ready to go fast on a piece of track. Yeah, you're hanging under it. I promise you the sensation isn't that different, to be honest. I cannot kid you enough. It is a very forceless ride that you can do, even though it's got the quirk of hanging under the track and the quirk of having quote-unquote high G's, according to some people. Again, I don't understand those people. Coming in at number 8, we have, in my opinion, a much better ride. In my friend's opinion, the worst ride in the park. My sister, my girlfriend, and my one of my best friends all hated this ride. I really liked it. Blazing Fury. It was fun. I mean, I think I'm the only one that knew it was like a 60 or something year old attraction. I may have mentioned that. I don't fully know. Whenever I told my girlfriend that again, she seemed like shocked that that was the case. But yeah, it's like 50 years old. It's kind of a classic as far as that goes. I think it is the oldest still operating ride in the park, besides maybe the log flume. But I like it. It's fun. It's quirky. I didn't have my glasses on, so I couldn't see the animatronics super well, nor did I really understand the story all that well. But one thing that I will say about it that is more intimidating than Dragonflier, the reason I put it higher, is, you know, I talked about momentum in the SeaWorld POV, and this ride has it. You are gaining speed throughout the ride on this track, and then you're turning very quickly, and every time you turn, like, you don't really know, in my opinion, if you're going to the next part of the show or if you're going to the drop. And then like the noises and like the smoke and the sound effects and stuff can kind of start intimidating you, and then eventually one of those turns that like you go through pretty jankily eventually does lead you to a drop. And I think there's 2 drops actually. There's like a small drop and then a bigger drop, and then the bigger drop ends with like pouring smoke out onto you. I think it's pretty cool. But that being said, it is like a weird attraction. It is janky, it is rough, and it's definitely not for everyone. But I would still say, you know, if you're afraid of roller coasters, this will get you used to the dropping sensation better than some of the rides even above it will. But just do Dragonflier first. Maybe do Whistle Punk Chaser first if you feel like you need to. And then going into this ride, I think, like, you know, you felt the dropping sensation on Dragonflier. The drop on this one isn't much better or worse than Dragonflier. It just shocks you more whenever it comes. That makes it a more fun experience in my eyes. Coming in at number 7, we have... oh god, we have the worst ride in the park. It's Daredevil Falls. I think this is going to be a hot take again, but here's the issue with Daredevil Falls. The ride is operated really poorly. We went into this ride seeing a woman's leg get stuck, like while coming out of the log, and then like they stopped the ride, and then I guess the guy got tired of holding down the button, so he took his hand off the button, and then her leg was like dragging with the log, and then he like pressed the button again. It's like, why did you take your hand off? And why isn't there a button that keeps the log from like going permanently? Why do you have to hold your hand there? The lady did get out of the log, and it was fine. And then we went on the log, and like the log was tilting forward, and we were 4 people, and they put us like in the first the first 4 seats in the log, everyone was thinking like, oh my gosh, this log is like tilting forward up this lift tail, and now we're heading towards the drop. Are we gonna flip over? It's such a janky experience that if you're gonna skip any ride at this park, it's this one. It's got a steeper drop though than any other ride I've mentioned so far. As far as like the steepness of drops go, this is a good place to go to experience that. But I'd almost recommend maybe going somewhere else to experience a steeper drop, because this ride is not operated well at all. It is by far the worst log flume I have ever been on. Even worse than like the Pleasure Pier log flume that hurts my knees almost every time I go on it. Other than Blazing Fury, I've been kind of negative so far. This is where that ends. This is Big Bear Mountain. Number 6, Big Bear Mountain. The only complaint I have about it is it's a little bit forceless, but it's a family ride. I think its intensity is overstated by some people. The most intense part of it is the launches, and then it's just twists and turns. Your body's kind of thrown from side to side a little bit, and there are some positive G's on like some of the helixes and stuff. But overall, it is a beautiful ride. Every ride from this point on, if I don't say it's like in a beautiful setting and just like has beautiful terrain usage, just assume that it does. There's basically no drops on this ride. Even a Wave Breaker has more of a drop after its second launch, even after its first launch, than I feel like anywhere on this ride does. Like, I felt no dropping sensation, or no like, oh, I'm going a bit steeper right now than usual. Anywhere on this ride, it seems like this ride just kind of wanted to be like a quick and scenic experience for really anyone to enjoy. And this was the first ride I did whenever I went into the park. And I would actually, like, I know, so ride progression wise, like objectively, I think it is more intense than anything I've mentioned so far. That being said, line wise and time wise and fun wise, if you started with this ride, I wouldn't blame you. That's not to say you need to skip everything underneath it, but I do think if you get on this ride, like, it's the first ride on this list that I feel like anyone that gets on is going to enjoy and have a really fun time on it. And yeah, it's honestly kind of relaxing whenever you get to a certain point of like coaster enthusiast. I think it's a very relaxing but just super fun experience, and it's super long too. I think it's the longest ride in the park despite not going the fastest, which makes it feel even longer. And it's operated so well. I think it had 3 trains when we went. Like, so they were like loading one train and then they'd send the next train out, and then there was like 2 trains waiting behind them. That's awesome. That was incredible. I wish more parks in Texas would operate that many trains at a time. I think it has to do with the heat, to be honest, why they don't do that. But gosh, it was summer in Tennessee. If they can do it in summer in Tennessee, they can do it in winter in Texas, and they never do. So I'm jealous. Tennessee, you got some amazing ride operations, and this is one of the best launch ride operations I've ever seen. It is so good. And the ride itself is just so fun. I love it so much. I think you'll love it too, whether you do it first or 4th/5th. Yeah, fifth. I just did the math. 5th. The number 5 spot and the number 6 on your ride progression path is Firechaser Express. Weirdly enough, I feel like I felt the G-force on this ride more than almost any other ride, but I think that's because of the start and stop sensations. Like, it says, like, literally in the queue line, like, a G-force of, like, 2.5, and, like, I feel like you really feel those Gs. I think it's because they're sustained, but then, it's also, like, you're accelerating, you're stopping, you're accelerating, you're stopping. Big Bear Mountain, again, momentum. This ride, starting, stopping. And it's, like, you're starting, stopping, like, in like a bunch of different brake runs, and then going downhill like really quick and like with like a snappy turn. It's a really fun experience. I actually really liked it. Again, I think me and my girlfriend liked it. I think my best friend and my sister did not like it as much. And ride stat wise, I think this goes like in the 30s or like low 40s, while Big Bear Mountain gets up to like the 50s and like speed. But again, it's about acceleration, right? And this ride like accelerates and then stops and then accelerates again and again, and it's just a more intense experience with how it uses the speed and elements and twists and turns that it has. It is definitely a more intense family ride, and it goes backwards. As far as family attractions go, I would argue this is the most intense one in the park, but it's super fun. I love it. It's a little janky, but not too janky to the point where like I find it unenjoyable. I think most people agree, actually. And honestly, it's like, I only rode it once. I want to ride it again. Like, I think this is what I want out of a family ride. You know, I want to get that dropping sensation. I want to get some positive G's, you know. 2.5 positive G's isn't a lot, but it's something. And I actually feel it on this ride because of the way it accelerates into it. So it's interesting, and I really enjoy it a lot. It's also one of the better themed attractions in the park, I would say. It's interesting because we went on Blazing Fury, right, which is like basically about you burning in a fire at the end. Like, the story is that you all die in a fire. And then on Firechaser Express, the story is you're about to die in a fire and you like escape at the last second. So it's like the bad ending of the movie versus the good ending of the movie, and I'm glad we experienced the good ending after the bad ending rather than vice versa. Coming in at number 4, we have where the objectivity of this list comes in. We have Barnstormer. Barnstormer is very similar to Tidal Surge, which I put at number 2 at SeaWorld, and I'd probably put it similarly at number 2 here if I was ranking subjectively. But objectively, it only goes 81 feet tall. Yeah, it kind of sends you vertical, but at the end of the day, it's just swinging you back and forth. It only swings 10 times total. That includes like the very small swings at the beginning of the ride. So it's like you get like pops of like ejector like near the end of the ride, and you do feel like some forces like on like the 4th or 5th swing. But overall, like, this ride is over before you know it, and it is a very good like adrenaline pumper to enter into the top 3, I'd say. S&S Screamin' Swings are scary. I would argue this one isn't that bad. Like, I got off of it and was like, that was scarier than Lightning Rod, for sure. But then I got on it again a little later, and I was like, no. S&S Screamin' Swings are significantly less intense than rides like Joker and like Sea Swinger as far as Texas goes, and I think Six Flags Over Texas and Six Flags Fiesta Texas both have disc rides, I guess, called Joker. Yeah, I haven't ridden the big ones, but I've ridden the one at Pleasure Pier, I've ridden the one at SeaWorld, and even those small ones I feel like toss me around a lot more than S&S Screamin' Swings. So I don't know, I prefer just kind of the pops of ejector and the like hanging downward and looking at the ground sensation on S&S Screamin' Swings a lot more than I do like the spinning sensations. And again, this is just a great ride to get your adrenaline pumping. It's not super high, and every other ride above it just has more going on, objectively speaking. That being said, it is still the biggest step up so far. I wouldn't say Firechaser Express is a bad transition into it, but I would say you're gonna feel a bit more intensity on this ride than anything I've mentioned prior. Even more objectivity has entered the chat because at number 3 we have Wild Eagle. Wild Eagle was my monster to conquer when I went to Dollywood. As I said, I was terrified of inversions. I did every other ride on this list before Wild Eagle, and then Wild Eagle was the second to last ride I did before we re-rode Big Bear Mountain, and it was a doozy for me, to say the least. I think the first drop is crazy. I think the inversions, however, are some of the most graceful, smooth inversions you will ever feel. If you are hydrated on this ride, well rested, well fed, and just kind of have a grind set mindset, if you have all those things, then you are not going to gray out on Wild Eagle. The only way I could see that happening is if they are marathoning it dehydrated during the summer. But I rode it in May. I did not gray out, despite me being terrified, despite me literally like having trouble breathing and stuff, which I think would rush the blood to my head a little bit faster. Like, as soon as I did that first inversion, I was like, oh my god, I didn't gray out. And then the rest of the inversions were just super fun. Even the helix at the end, my girlfriend felt like the positive G's like interface. I didn't. Maybe it's because like I was too focused on just like maintaining consciousness or something. I don't know. But it wasn't a struggle to maintain consciousness is my point. And it was just a super fun experience. The most intense part, other than the drop, I would say is the fourth inversion, because you get some hang time on the fourth inversion. I had never experienced the sensation of hang time before. It was fun though. Every inversion was super fun. I think my favorite inversion type as far as like this ride and Iron Shark goes has to be the 0G roll. I think it's just super cool. It feels like a mini airtime hill, but like almost like a twisty one. And the one that's like, I think the one that's straight after the first loop is a 0G roll, and it's super fun. I think weirdly enough, the inversions on this ride in particular kind of feel like airtime hills. Like, I don't know how to describe it because I know it's supposed to be crushing positives, but I felt more so like airtimes during the inversions than I did G-force, which is great. If you love airtime as much as me, this ride is amazing, and it is such a beautiful location. Oh my god. I have to mention it again because compared to Barnstormer, this is like you are in the Appalachian Mountains and you are going on a roller coaster, and it is awesome. I'm actually excited to ride it again because I was so scared the first time that I didn't get to take in the view at the top of the lift hill. I mean, my eyes were open because closing your eyes while you're afraid on a roller coaster is a horrible idea. Do not do it. but I was perfectly content with my experience on Wild Eagle, and when I got off it, I'm like, that was not the most intense ride in the park. Despite its inversions, despite how much the park tries to hype it up as super intense, I think probably, I haven't ridden them yet, but probably both Mystery Mine and Tennessee Tornado are both more intense than Wild Eagle. The number 2 spot is the first big ride I did in the park, and if you don't fear woodies and aggressive airtime and aggressive turns and just a lot of speed and a little bit of roughness, then I would argue riding Thunderhead as your first big ride instead of Barnstormer isn't a horrible idea. It's what I did, and I had a ton of fun on it. I really liked Thunderhead, but it's really rough, and it hurt my back consistently every time I got off it. I would not rank it quite as high as a lot of other people would on like my overall coaster ranking. I think I liked Texas Stingray more than Thunderhead overall, but Thunderhead's more chaotic. I think it's got kind of a better first drop, maybe. I don't know. The straight down drop is fun. I prefer the airtime, I think, on this ride is better, for sure. I think there's more pops of it. It's more consistent. It's more like a more chaotic amount of it. But it's just tossing you everywhere to the point where like you don't know what's going on. And it is a intense experience. Like if you don't love airtime, you're not gonna love this ride, because some of the airtime, like I would compare this ride, this is the steel eel of the park. Some of the airtime can hurt. That being said, even though it can hurt, it's got like literal couch seats basically, which is really cool. It's very cushiony. It's got amazing seating as far as airtime goes. So like you are literally being thrown into like a couch cushion. It's like you're on like a vibrating couch. That is how this ride feels. You know, like maybe like a massage chair is a good experience comparison. I don't like massage chairs. I'm just gonna be upfront. I don't really love massage chairs. They hurt my back more than they help it, and I think this ride is like how I feel about massage chairs. And if you like massage chairs, you'll probably like this ride, but if you don't, you'll probably have kind of mixed opinions on it. It's still a great ride. It's still beautiful, and it is still, I think, a worthy number 2 spot. It is a great ride, but that being said, it is miles away from the number 1 spot ride quality wise. I'd even say I like Wild Eagle a little bit more than Thunderhead, but that's just me. But I'm sorry, I will not hear any debate about this. I don't care that the launch is gone. I don't care that it's not wooden anymore. Lightning Rod is the best and most intense ride in Dollywood. I'm actually glad I experienced it without the launch. Hot take. I'm sorry, are you saying you don't want to see the beautiful view of the Appalachians at the top of a 170-foot lift hill? You would rather be shot over that view immediately so you have no time to take it in? Lame. You're lame. I joke, mostly. I joke. The launch would have been cool to experience. But that being said, I think there's way too much complaining going on about the lack of launch, because the ride is still so fast. There is no way that thing doesn't go 73 miles per hour. It throws you everywhere. It's got an amazing first drop. Someone described it as in the park whenever I was there. Someone told me like, oh yeah, it's like you never touch your seat as soon as you go down the first drop. And I think that's such like an accurate description. Like, you are just floating up and down, and it's super graceful. Like, people say it like, oh, like, this ride hurt me so bad, like I hurt my back on it or I hurt my leg on it. Dude, you're gonna say that, but you're not gonna say you were hurt on Thunderhead. There's no way. I don't believe you. This ride is so comfortable because of the way, like, not even because of the seats. The seats don't look like it's going to be like as comfortable as Thunderhead, but it's way more comfortable than Thunderhead because the way the airtime works, it's like you do the first drop, your butt is lifted out of your seat, and they're right. Like, your butt does not touch the seat again. It goes like slightly down, and then it shoots back up and back into the restraints, and then you go slightly down again. Nope, another pop of airtime, and then just the absolute like amazing element that was the quad down. I knew when it was coming because I've watched the POVs, I've watched the reviews, and I was obsessed with this ride for a long time. So I like counted out whatever else happened. I was like 1, 2, 3, 4, and it was such a good experience. I get giddy just talking about it. It's like, it is my favorite ride I have ever been on. And that being said, the quad down's technically 5 pops of airtime, by the way. Kind of 6. It kind of like over 100 because the entire ride is just airtime after airtime. But those specific types of bunny hills, like, I get it, you know, it's technically 5 pops. Maybe, you could argue maybe 6. But that being said, with everything I said about Lightning Rod, the one thing that like kind of like does disappoint me about the launch being removed is there was a sound effect at the beginning of the ride that went like like a car, and like, I know that sound effect is what led into the launch, which is such good theming, and so that is kind of sad because, yeah, the chain lift, I think one thing I'll say is I think the chain lift could have been a bit faster. What would be cool maybe if they like decide to like change the ride a little bit is if they can make like a lift that is a little bit faster and then almost like crest you over the top. And, you know, I know it's like, oh, like, it's just a miniature drop. So that's even more of a reason to like kind of trick you low-key. Like, oh, I'm being crested over like this tiny drop. It's not going to be that intense. And then you fall down the miniature drop, and then you have no time to think before you fall down the big drop. That kind of, I think that solution might make everyone happy, you know, where like, okay, it's not as fast as the launch was, but we still get a reason for us to hear like an engine revving at the beginning, then up the lift hill. Then we still get the view of the Appalachians at the top of the lift hill, and then we do the tiny drop and then transition into the huge drop. That's my pitch for Lightning Rod. I think that could fix all issues, maintain what's currently good about it, because yeah, I will say the chain lift is disappointingly slow for hearing a engine revving before you go into it. But that is not enough of a reason, I'm sorry, it's not, to ignore the quality of the rest of the ride. The other take that I hear with this ride all the time, and I think it's because RMC is known for really good and tight inversions, is that this ride should have inversions. Now, I'm biased, right? Because this was my first RMC I've ever ridden, but I wouldn't have rode it if it had a steeper drop and if it had inversions. I saw 70 like degree drop, 165 feet. I'm like, okay, that's 15 feet higher than Steel Eel, 5 degrees more than Steel Eel. It's got no inversions. I can do that and then do one of the inverting rides in Dollywood. And that is what I did. And I'm sorry, I don't think Dollywood is as good of a progression park without this ride having no inversions. There's so much diversity in how you can do this progression path. So most people are going to tell you Lightning Rod is the most intense in the park, but depending on what you're afraid of, I would recommend you don't do Lightning Rod last. Like, if you're afraid of inversions, absolutely do Thunderhead and Lightning Rod before Wild Eagle. Do Barnstormer before Wild Eagle too. And if you do all those 3 rides, then do Wild Eagle like I did, there's no way you're still going to be like as afraid of those inversions. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was scared of inversions for 25 years. I was still terrified while going up Wild Eagle's lift hill. But that being said, I felt so ready to do it. And that was because of Lightning Rod. That was because of Barnstormer. That was because of this park's amazing progression path. This park has the best step-up rides in the whole country, and I don't say that lightly. I don't say that without confidence because I have done so much research on this topic. You could argue like, oh, but what about Busch Gardens Tampa? Well, Iron Gwazi is like such a huge step up from Cheetah Hunt that, like, I'm sorry, I don't think that park has as good of a progression path. It doesn't have as many rides. It doesn't have as many family rides. It doesn't have like I don't think really a great flat ride to transition you into the bigger rides. And Thunderhead gets you ready for Lightning Rod in such a great way, and Firechaser Express gets you ready for bigger rides that aren't family rides in such a great way, and Big Bear Mountain gets you ready for speed in such a great way. It's just it's like a perfect little leveling up system that Dollywood has inside of it. It's like almost mini game of like conquering your fears in this park. And I was told after I got into the Lightning Rod queue station, and this is really what upped my confidence to no end, that if you do Lightning Rod, you can do any other ride in the park. So, you know, if you're really scared, maybe start with Lightning Rod. I don't know. I think that if you started with Lightning Rod, you would probably be far more scared. I would recommend at least doing like Big Bear Mountain and Thunderhead before Lightning Rod. But that being said, you know, again, if you fear inversions, it definitely would fall earlier on your progression path than it would for most other people. But again, we're talking objectively, and objectively, it's got crazy laterals. It's got some of the craziest airtime in the world. It is definitely the most intense ride in this park, objectively speaking. That being said, I have to go back to my caveats of Mystery Mine and Tennessee Tornado and say, Mystery Mine, if you kind of are afraid of dropping in the dark, as well as hang time, as well as like a bit of a more rough and intense experience, from what I hear, Mystery Mine would be more intense to you. And if you fear graying out, Tennessee Tornado, from again what I hear, has the highest chance of making you gray out in the whole park. I do want to do Tennessee Tornado. I'm pretty to me it seems less intense than something like Great White or like a Batman clone. So I do think that, like, objectively speaking, like, because it's got like less inversions and like a similar amount of sustained G's to something like Great White, and it's just a very short experience, I do want to do it for sure the next time I go to Dollywood. If I do gray out on Tennessee Tornado when I do it, just move Lightning Rod over and put Tennessee Tornado in front of it. But I don't know for sure that that'll happen, because I think coaster enthusiasts exaggerate about graying out quite a bit, and I think Wild Eagle and Iron Shark are proof of that. Almost every review I've heard of those rides have mentioned at least graying out on the first loop or the first inversion on Iron Shark. I'm sorry, I don't think that happens to the average person. I think y'all need to drink water. And that being said, whenever I ask every single person about the sensation of graying out or tunnel vision or seeing stars, I phrased it in many different ways. And my sister, who's gone on plenty of rides, including even like Titan at Six Flags Over Texas, has no idea what I'm talking about when I talk about it. And my best friend, who goes on a bunch of rides too, including Great White, has no idea what I'm talking about. And my other best friend has gone on crazy rides like Poltergeist and Superman and a bunch of different Batman clones, also has no idea what I'm talking about, has never experienced the sensation. So what's the lesson we've learned here? Drink water and go to Dollywood. So anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for watching episode 2 of Chicken Coop Coasters. Pretty soon here, I think I might be going to Silver Dollar City, so y'all might be seeing a review of that. I'm also going to be getting a Six Flags season pass at the end of this year, so going into 2027, you're going to see a lot of reviews of different water parks, like different Schlitterbahns, and then Six Flags Over Texas, Six Flags Fiesta Texas, and Six Flags Frontier City as well. I'm actually excited to go to Frontier City. I've never gone before, and I've heard it's not the greatest park ever, but I don't know, it looks kind of like my vibe. It looks like a lot of family rides, and it looks like some of the inverted rides there, like the rides with inversions, aren't super intense in comparison to others. So I might even say, like, after I go there, oh, actually, if you live in Texas, this might be the best first park to go to, especially because it's driving distance, while Dollywood is not. But that being said, Dollywood is such a magical experience, and I am so glad that I did my first inversion here. If you can do your first inversion anywhere and you want it to be like an emotional experience, I would say Dollywood. I would say do Dollywood. Anyway, my cat's scratching at my door, so I think I gotta go. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure to leave a like and subscribe and leave a comment. And if you do, I will send you pictures of my cats. Just all the cat photos that you want will be sent directly to you. She's adorable. So yeah, make sure you subscribe. If you don't, you hate kittens. Anyway, goodbye for now. And I will see you guys in the next one.